right? O son of Pritha. So what's the name Pritha? That's the name she was given from birth. And her father, who knows? Her father's name was, starts with an S. Shurasena. That was her father. Father was a king. And her father had a daughter. And he named the daughter Pritha. But the king had a friend, another king, and the other king was without children. So the other king of Kunti Bhoja, he requested his friend Shurasena, can I adopt your daughter and raise her as mine? So it was done, that from time to time such things happened. So she, the son of Shurasena, became the son of Shurasena, became the daughter of Kunti Bhoja. So her name became Kunti. And when she was married, she married Pandu, and Pandu became the king. But Pandu died when he was young. He was the king, but Pandu had a special liking for being in the countryside more than being in that big royal palace. So he was off in the countryside or forest and circumstances, and he died when his sons were teenagers. So here's Kunti with 5 strapping, powerful Kshatriya sons. No husband, no protection. So what did Kunti do? Kunti consulted her spiritual master. Her spiritual master was Vyasadeva. You heard his name before? Vyasadeva. So Vyasadeva said, you should go back to the royal palace. Your sons, by law, are destined to become the next king. The eldest son of the 5 brothers, there are 5 brothers. The eldest one was Yudhishthira, the elder brother. The next was Bhima. You know Bhima, you're smiling. So, and then the next one was Arjuna. So go back to the royal palace and be protected, be safe there. Raise your children in that circumstance. So that's what they did. However, there was Pandu had an elder brother who was blind. You know his name? Dhritarashtra? Dhritarashtra. He was born blind. So because he was born blind, although he was the elder brother, he couldn't become the king. And so the one that came after him became the king, Pandu. But the elder brother who was blind, long story, he had 100 sons. You want to hear how he had 100 sons? I'll tell you, it's really easy. I mean, it's like mystical, but his wife, he's the elder brother. His wife was named Gandhari. So Gandhari, when she was told that the man that is going to be your husband, it was an arranged marriage, one of those, and he's blind. So what did she do? She covered her eyes with cloth because she didn't want to supersede with her vision capacity her husband. So she was also artificially blinded. And she became pregnant. By law, by Vedic law, if her sons were born first because her husband was the elder brother, her sons would become king. She got word that Kunti gave birth first to Yudhishthira. So she became angry. This is what mothers shouldn't do. She slammed her abdomen so that the child within her womb would be born prematurely. And instead of 1 child, there's 100. It was a lump, and then the lump was divided into 100 pieces. Like, this is kind of different medicine than modern medicine. What pediatrician could give advice, cut that lump of flesh into 100 pieces, and you have. So the eldest of the 100 sons was envious of the Pandavas because he wanted to be king. And do you know his name? Starts with a D. Duryodhana. And Duryodhana, boys will be boys. They're like teenage fellows around the same age. And what do boys do? They play games. And one of those games is they would wrestle. And every time, Bhima would win. Now, he wouldn't just win, but he would toss them around like they're toys, throw them in the air. And Duryodhana couldn't stand it. I should be king. Look at this Bhima. He got a very explicit desire to kill him. He was a bad guy. That's why I said Duryodhana. There were several murder plots. None of them worked. There's details that are referenced in the earlier parts of Queen Kunti's prayers. But time after time, so there's a big section in her prayers. That you see in the painting, Kunti is standing by the side of a chariot. Krishna is on the chariot. His chariot driver, Daruka, is holding the reins of the horses. And there's a big scene. This is the courtyard of the royal royal courtyard of the capital city. And she's standing right by his chariot, saying everything, but please don't go. She more or less says it in the section of prayers that we're going to be covering this evening. So we're well into her prayers, and the last set of prayers that she offered was on the topic of, there's several. Prior is Krishna partial or impartial? And some people say he's partial because he's favorable to his devotees and he admonishes or he chastises the non-devotees. There's a verse in Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says that. You can say it with me if you know the verse. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya chaduskritam dharma sangstapanartaya sambhavami yuge yuge. So there's three things. Paritranaya sadhunam. Sadhu means the devotees. He gives protection to the devotees. Vinash. He admonishes, he finishes, reduces the influence of the duskritis, the bad people, those that have kriti, but they misuse it. They have fruits of piety, but they misuse it. The duskritis. And dharma sangstha. He restores or reestablishes dharma. Those three things. Protects, diminishes or admonishes the duskritis, the Duryodhanas and people like that. And he restores dharma at times when it's lost. So it seems like if he does this with the devotees, he does that with the non-devotees, he favors the devotees. But there's several verses that describe he's neutral. He's merciful, just like the sun shines. And when the sun shines, there are different receivers of the sunshine that receive it in a different way. The owls close their eyes. The absence of the sunshine is benedictory for the thieves, and et cetera, et cetera. There's nice examples. But the sun shining is the same for everyone. Similarly, Krishna's mercifulness, his merciful nature, is the same for everyone. Like the sun shines, is the same for everyone. But the receiving factor is where a difference lies. So persons have different regard for Krishna, and according to their regard for Krishna, he reciprocates. Oh, you want to be my enemy? Okay, I'll be your enemy. Oh, you want to be my friend? Okay, I'll be your friend. Oh, you want to be my devotee? Okay, you can be my devotee. I'll treat you as you wish to be treated. There's another nice verse, Yeyatamam prapadyante tang sadaiva bhajamyam, where Krishna says, as they bhajami, as they have regard for me, I reciprocate. So there's a whole section. He's neutral, he's not partial, but he appears to be. And then there's many other nice things. He's unborn, but he appears to be born. And that's the next section, what we covered yesterday. He who is unborn is born. Now that's a contradiction, right? Either born or you're not born, but you can't be born and not born. But he's not born in the sense that his body is eternal, just as is described in Bhagavad Gita. And yet he makes his appearance. But his appearance isn't like ours. Is that appearance like when Krishna appeared? Do you know about Krishna Janmashtami? Yeah, it's a nice festival, isn't it? So in Krishna Janmashtami, most babies aren't born the way that Krishna was born. His firstborn, he's in his four-arm Vishnu form, wearing helmet and the symbols of Vishnu in his four hands, and ornaments and the attire of Lord Vishnu, the presiding personality of Vaikuntha. Most children aren't born that way. A few other things that happen, not that one. So because his birth is different. His birth is transcendental birth. So he's unborn but born. And then we discussed yesterday, some persons say he takes birth for this reason, that reason, the other reason, the other reason, the other reason, and the other reason. They're all good reasons. They're all actual reasons. But then the conclusion is, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, where we ended yesterday, is he appears to relieve the conditioned souls of their suffering condition by giving knowledge that removes ignorance. We had this nice discussion about the root of suffering is ignorance. The influence of ignorance on the soul is ignorant desire, because the soul, being part of the Supreme, has desire. You can't become absolutely desireless. You can spiritualize your desire. But if you add knowledge to desire, you have good desire. If you have ignorance together with desire, you have ignorant desire. And ignorant desire leads to ignorant activity, leads to suffering. So Krishna comes to deliver knowledge that is the antidote for ignorance, that's the antidote for suffering. Very simple. That was where we ended up yesterday. And now we're ready for this evening. Thanks to this young man for a little introduction on who is Queen Kunti. Go ahead. It's one of our ISKCON rituals, Haribol. Okay. So what we've been doing is, there's a little recording. You've got that portable microphone, so you can have not yet. There's a recording of Sri Rupa and her friends. They're singing these verses of Queen Kunti. It's nice. And along with their singing, there's a chorus, and you can hear the chorus and sing along with the chorus, because the words are going to show up on the screen. But before that, there's the invocation verse for the whole of Bhagavad Gita. That's coming next. So you'll hear Sri Rupa's voice singing, then there's a little pause, and if you don't pause and try to say the chorus, you'll mess up. So you got to pause. And then You can sing, and it goes through twice.
Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Namostute Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Bando Jagatpate
One more time.
Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Bando Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Kanta Namostute Hey Krishna Karuna Bando Jagatpate
The picture on the right is a cover of one of the books from the BBT, which was a transcription of Prabhupada's lectures on the verses of Queen Kunti's prayers. So there's Queen Kunti seated by the side of the river Ganga, and it's meant to illustrate one of the verses where she makes a prayer just as the Ganga flows forever downstream towards the sea. So also, please bless me that my mind will always flow towards you. But she has that already because she's attached to Krishna. She's a pure devotee. And when you're attached to something, your thoughts go to that something. The Maja thinks of his money, and the addict thinks of the object of his addiction, and the pure devotee thinks of their object of attachment and affection and love. So she's already there, but she's praying to have that capacity. That's the painting. The translation: Oh, my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So this is the next verse, and you can see it highlighted in red letters, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grananti, and it's a phrase that's found elsewhere in the Bhagavatam, we're going to see, but it has to do with hearing, chanting, and assimilating that which you have heard and chanted, or that which goes inside, Grananti. Shrinvanti Gayanti Grananti. And you see another word that's also highlighted, little different colors, Achirena. Achirena literally means very quickly, without much time. So the effect of the bhakti activities of hearing, chanting, and assimilating Krishna's message works very quickly on the soul. Even the coverings, quick compared to other processes, very quickly, the coverings are removed and the original consciousness is restored. That's what she's saying in this verse. And here's the verse.
Shrinvanti Gayanti Gunantyapi Smaranti Nandanti Tavitam Jana Taiva Pashyantya Chirena Tavaka paramam padam pujam Shunvanti gayanti Nandanti takritam jana paramam padam pujam Shunvanti gayanti kunantyapi Smaranti nandanti takritam jana Taiva pasyantyachirena tavaka paramam padam pujam Shunvanti gayanti nandanti takritam jana
Translation: O Krishna, those who continuously hear, chant, and repeat your transcendental activities or take pleasure in others doing so, certainly see your lotus feet, which alone can stop the repetition of birth and death. Now the painting on the right, that's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu carrying the body of Haridas Thakur, who gave up his life doing what he did his whole life, was immersion, chanting the holy name of Krishna, Maha Mantra. And personally, the love that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had for Haridas is demonstrated by his picking up his dead body. Now, normally that's not something you do, pick up a dead body and dance with it. And then personally took his body to the sea, bathed the sea with his own hand. With his own hand, he helped create the hole in which his body was immersed, and with salt and all the procedures for a great, great, great Vaishnava, his samadhi was established personally by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu because of his great affection for him. Now, this phrase at the beginning, Shrinvanti Gayanti Grananti, is the same phrase that you'll find in another verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5. In Canto 1, Chapter 5, we see Narada giving instructions to Vyas, and you see in the background is Himalayan mountain range. And let's say the verse together. Tadvarga vasargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abhadyavat namanyanantasya yashon kataniyat shringanti gayanti grananti sadava. So same first three words, shrinvanti gayanti grananti sadavaha. So the translation is different because it's a different verse, but it's the same sequence. First comes hearing, then comes chanting what you've heard, and then comes assimilating that which you have heard and chanted within your heart, grananti. And that's how one becomes fully purified. Now, in the course of Vedic history, Prabhupada's purport writes, there were many great persons who had incredible material assets. First name mentioned is Ravana, and he was finished by Ramachandra. Hiranyakashipu, he was finished by Lord Nrsingadev. Kamsa, he was finished by Krishna, one fist, and he was finished. Jarasandha, Bhima had the honors with Jarasandha. And Shishupal, Krishna did it himself with his Sudarshan Chakra. So they were highly qualified personalities by acquisition of material assets, but they were unable to appreciate the presence of the Lord. So this is about seeing the Supreme Lord. So these fellows, they were able to see the Supreme Lord, but they weren't able to appreciate because they were abhaktas. They weren't just like neutral. They were averse to devotion to Krishna or Ramachandra or the personality of Godhead who Prahlad Maharaj was worshipping. They were averse. So they lost all their material assets. When the hearing process is perfect and complete, the other processes become automatically perfect in their own way. This is from Prabhupada's purport. The painting is Maharaj Parikshit kneeling before Shukadev Goswami because he just received a curse that he's going to die in 7 days. There's some details, but he had a curse. And he accepted the curse. He could have neutralized or anything, but he didn't. He just accepted it. And gave up his royal attire and so forth and so on, went to the bank of the Ganges. Sages were invited to come and advise him what to do at the time of death. By the Lord's own arrangement, his great devotee Shukadev Goswami, 16-year-old boy, showed up right at the right time and said all the right things. And he, Maharaj Parikshit, is hearing from Shukadev Goswami. So in the process of devotional service, everyone knows this, most of us know this, there are 9 different activities. It's connected with the Shrinvatam Swakata Krishna, or Shrinvanti Gayanti Grananti Sadhavaha. So the 9 processes of bhakti, the first 3, hearing, chanting, and remembering. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So the perfection of spiritual life was achieved by Shukadev by speaking. And by Maharaj Parikshit by hearing. So Shravanam, Maharaj Parikshit, perfection. Kirtanam, Shukadev Goswami speaking. So when that hearing and chanting becomes perfect, all the other faculties of consciousness and everything about life that can be elevated by different processes, they're all achieved by just this hearing and chanting activity done properly. And there's a statement in connection in this purport. Sometimes there are ardent worshippers of Krishna in Vrindavan, and they take Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, particularly the pastimes with the gopis in Vrindavan, as being so important that they don't consider so important the activities of Krishna with the Pandavas. And that's a no-no. Because they're to be understood that Krishna's pastimes are all perfect. And the Pandavas are perfect devotees. Out of all the persons, how many times Prabhupada said like this, of all the persons that Krishna selected to be the recipient of the message of Bhagavad Gita was Arjuna. Arjuna wasn't a sadhu. He wasn't a gopi. He wasn't a Brijbasi. He was a householder. And he was a warrior householder. But his qualification was he was a pure devotee. And therefore, he chose Arjuna to speak Bhagavad Gita to, in a very unique circumstance in the middle of a battlefield. And battlefield means, till death. So that's he's so dear. There's 2 things I want to just share from Mahabharata. The whole history of the greater India, but the history of the scenes in the battlefield. Krishna had a son. Arjuna had a son. And Arjuna's son was named Abhimanyu. Abhimanyu was the husband of Uttara. It's a long story. There's many details, but Abhimanyu, at the time of the Kurukshetra battle took place, he was 16. Now, what 16-year-old can be as powerful warriors? He was so powerful, they couldn't stop him. So they made a bad decision. They decided, break the vows of warfare and gang up on him. And 7 generals, there's different versions of Ramayana. The one I'm making reference to says 7 generals ganged up on him, and there was one other general that held off the Pandavas, and his name was Jayadratha. It's a long, convoluted description. Jayadratha was humiliated by Draupadi and Bhima because Jayadratha had a desire to have Draupadi's hand, but she was already married. That's sinful, right? A man that desires another man's wife. What to speak of the Pandavas? But he tried to kidnap her anyways. And she is so powerful. Draupadi wasn't like a wimp. She socked him in the jaw and knocked him on the ground and bloodied his mouth. She was a powerful little lady, Kshatriya lady. But he was more powerful. He tied her up and put her on his chariot and drove off. And she's calling out to her 5 husbands. Bhima happened to be nearby. Poor Jayadratha. Bhima smashed him, and he was going to kill him. Because that's the death penalty for something like that, by Dharma. The elder brother Yudhishthira stopped him. Don't kill him. He's the son of a king, and he's to be honored, although he did something very bad. Let's do something, because it says, for one who has once been honored, dishonor is worse than death. You heard that one? You heard that one? For one who has once been honored, dishonor is worse than death. You give him a penalty for this wrongdoing. Dishonor him. So they got their sharp swords and cut off all but the 4 tufts of hair sticking out this way and that way. Humiliated him completely. And pronounced, and they laughed at him. Look at this guy. And then he's a Kshatriya. He's his blood is boiling. And said, you're now Yudhishthira's slave. So what did Jayadratha do? I'm going to get back. Because that was his mentality. He was a mode of ignorance guy. So he went off to the forest. He went off to the Himalayas and underwent severe austerities for a long time, praying to Lord Shiva for a benediction. Lord Shiva came and asked what he wanted. He said, I want to be able to kill the Pandavas. And I want, if anyone harms me, that their head will fall into 7 pieces. If my head hits the ground caused by them, their head will fall into, the head will crack into 7 pieces. There's different versions of Mahabharata that says something else, but this is one. So Lord Shiva said, I'm sorry. I can't give you the benediction that you can kill Arjuna because he's favored by Krishna. But you can defeat, you can't kill, you can defeat the other 4. You with me? Lord Shiva gave him a benediction. You can defeat the other 4. So when Abhimanyu, who is the son of Arjuna, was being ganged up on by 7 generals, Jayadratha is over on the side, holding back the 4 brothers on the strength of this benediction given by Lord Shiva. Arjuna heard that Abhimanyu had been killed in the way that he was killed, and the Jayadrath prevented the Pandavas, his 4 brothers, from protecting him, he took a vow at the end of the day. By tomorrow, before the sun sets, I will kill Jayadrath. And if I don't, I'll enter into fire. The Kauravas had a big festival. Yay! All we have to do tomorrow is protect Jayadrath. And then Arjuna's going to enter into fire because he'll keep his word. And then the battle's over because Arjuna is invincible because he's protected by Krishna. Krishna turned to Arjuna and said, why'd you take this terrible vow? And Arjuna said, I knew you'd protect me. That's how dear is Arjuna to Krishna. Lord Shiva wouldn't give a benediction to harm Arjuna because he knew he's protected by Krishna. I can't supersede Krishna. Shiva knows I can't go against Krishna's wishes like that. So no. But the other 4, you can defeat them in battle. That's okay. So this back to this picture. The Pandavas, the intimacy between Krishna and the Pandavas is very special. It's different than with the gopis, but it's not less important than the gopis. Different. Pure devotees and pure devotees and pure devotees. They're pure devotees with differences. Differences are nice. Here's some explanation by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And it connects with what's the cause of Krishna's appearance, yesterday evening's topic. Persons who constantly hear, sing, speak, remember, and sing to others about your activities, they alone without delay, that's this a tirena verse, a word, without delay are able to see your lotus feet which destroy the influence of material existence. His commentary reads, this verse shows the actual reason for the Lord's appearance, which was discussed yesterday evening. They, and not others, see for certain. It is not that they do not see. They see without delay. Achirena. Not after a long time, without delay. They see your lotus feet, not the lotus feet of one of your expansions. Those lotus feet destroy the influence of material existence rather than prolong material existence. Meaning benedictions, this was discussed in earlier verses, but benedictions that come from demigods, it looks like a benediction, but it prolongs one's material existence. So it's so-called, it extends one's tenure in the first-class prison cell. Your form is not without qualities. In order to appreciate the beauty of the Lord, the 6 aspects need to be, again, seen. Somebody once asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, have you seen Krishna? Prabhupada's answer, if I told you, would you believe me? Oh, yes. Prabhupada, not only I have seen Krishna, but I'm always seeing Krishna. Do you believe me? It's a very nice painting. There's Prabhupada with his dictaphone and Bhagavatam giving his Bhaktivedanta purports. And in his mind's eye, he's images of Krishna and Lord Chaitanya and Radha Krishna and Parthasarathi. And there's others ways of always seeing Krishna. Those of you that like to read and like to hear Prabhupada lectures, you know it. By understanding that everything comes from Krishna, when you see something, you're reminded of Krishna. Prabhupada's phrase. Sometimes you may see the toy of your child or the shoes of your child. When I was growing up, it was a fashion. It's not a fashion anymore, but people would tie the little baby shoes to their rearview mirror. And when they see because they're looking in the rearview mirror to drive, but they see the baby shoes hanging, and they see the baby shoes, they see their child. It's like it was a thing. Now it's then for a while it was CDs, and now it's who knows what it is, hanging from your rearview mirror. But the object that's connected to the object of love, you see the object of love through the object. So everything, say it negatively, there isn't anything that exists that doesn't come from Krishna. We'll see it the other way. There's only two things. There's Krishna and there's Krishnas. As there's not a third thing in the creation of God, meaning there's no such thing as void. There's Krishna and there's Krishnas. And if you understand that the Krishnas is related to Krishna, you can see Krishna everywhere. The stairway leading up to the balcony, and this nice architecture in this house, and the columns, and everything is Krishna. Krishnas, and therefore it's related to Krishna. I put the word hermeneutics. Hermeneutics is a nice 50-cent word. It means the methodology of understanding texts, specifically spiritual texts or religious texts, and the methodology for understanding spiritual texts gives within all of the Vedas. There's one thing: knowing Krishna. Vedaischa Sayur Vair Aham Eva Vedyo. The purpose of the Vedas is to know Krishna. Aham Eva Vedyo. The purpose of the Vedas. So there's many, 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 many things in the Vedas. And the purpose of those many, 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 many things is one thing: to know Krishna. He is the center, the object of the Vedas, although there are many, many, many other things. So that's hermeneutics. You see, Krishna is to see Krishna in everything within the Vedas, and then as a result, everything anywhere. So we're going to cover two more verses. In one of them, we're going to read something from the Bhagavatam. I think you're going to like it.
Apyadyanastvam swakute vitakam Sutsuputo nijivina Yesham nachanya bhavatapajambuja Nam rajasuyojitam hasam Apyadyanastvam swakute vitakam Jihasasi Sutsuputo nijivina Oh Apyadyanastvam swakute vitakam Jihasasi Sutsuputo nijivina Yesham nachanya bhavatapajambuja Nam rajasuyojitam hasam Apyadyanastvam swakute vitakam Jihasasi Sutsuputo nijivina Yesham nachanya bhavatapajambuja
Oh my Lord, you have executed all duties yourself. You are leaving us today. Although we are completely dependent on your mercy and have no one else to protect us, now when all kings are at enmity with us means so many on the battlefield, so many soldiers lost their lives. And there's enmity from the sides of those families, royal families. Enmity towards us, and you're leaving? Please don't leave. She doesn't say it, but she's saying. After glorifying Lord Krishna for being unperceivable to anyone other than his devotees, for adventing himself in this world, and for enacting wonderful human-like pastimes, Kunti now expresses her deepest fear. The Lord, after guiding the Pandavas through innumerable difficulties, will soon depart. Prabhupada writes, Srimati Kunti Devi felt impending separation from Sri Krishna to be like a thunderbolt. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. This prayer of the queen is to try to persuade him to stay with them. She doesn't say it, but she says it. At the end, I mentioned this the other day, Krishna smiles and he's on his way. That's how the prayers end. However, shortly thereafter, Yudhishthira comes and says, please stay, explicitly. So he stays a while longer. In the case of our transcendental relation with the Lord, it is the most fortunate case when we can completely depend on him. So she, Queen Kunti, who speaks with all kinds of humility, has the greatest qualification because she's feeling fully dependent. Now, we learned this when visiting Udupi, that there are pillars of Madhvacharya's teachings, and one of those pillars of Madhvacharya's teachings is there's one entity who is dependent and all others, one entity that's independent and all others are dependent. And we're in the dependent category. We're not in the, we're thinking independent, but we're dependent. And to feel completely dependent on him, it's demeaning for some people. They can't do it. It just goes against their purpose of life. Everyone that comes to the material world. Why do we come to the material world? It's not like once upon a time we were in the spiritual world. It's not one of those things. In some time past, we thought, gee, wonder what it's like in the material world. It's not a chronological event, but there's misuse of free will, where the dependent wants to be independent of the independent. That's all of us. Different ways, different stroke for different folks, but different modes of nature, but the same principle. So feeling oneself completely dependent is the most fortunate person, and that's Queen Kunti. She's the most fortunate person. Vishwanath's translation and commentary. Oh Lord, do you, whose deeds are automatically accomplished, desire to reject us today, though we are your friends and depend on you? We, having created trouble with many kings, have no other shelter than your lotus feet. Commentary. We, and not others, become happy on seeing you and suffer on not seeing you. The time of happiness has passed, and the time of suffering has arrived. Do you desire to leave us today, since your desire to go to Dwarka, Krishna replies, but I've stayed many days. Now I must go to Dwarka. I have necessary work there. Please give your consent. As if he's dependent upon her consent. To this, Kunti answers, but you're the person whose necessary works are already accomplished by my sons, who served as your instruments. The Pandavas created suffering for many kings by killing their fathers or relatives. We depend on you. Therefore, please stay here and protect my sons. pretty emotional. And the mood of dependence doesn't know shame. It's just like, help. You're my strength. You're my ability, my everything. Please don't go. It's an important teaching about relationships. That's true anywhere, everywhere, in the spiritual world, in the material world, in material activity, material exchanges, and spiritual exchanges. There's meeting and there's separation. Sambhoga and Vipralamba. Meeting is incomplete without separation. Separation is incomplete without meeting. Separation is the anticipation of meeting. Intensifies the feeling. And when there's separation, that the meeting experiences are remembered and intensified by separation. It's just, there's transcendental emotion like that, and then there's mundane emotion. That's just a reflection of the transcendental emotion. Kunti's on the platform of transcendental emotion. She's anticipating separation, and she doesn't want that. And she has good reason, aside from what she doesn't want. She wants the enmity that has been created by her sons, which were doing the bidding of Krishna, because Arjuna didn't want to fight, and Krishna induced him. Because why? Because Krishna came to annihilate the miscreant kings that were a burden for earth with their demoniac activities. And the demigods couldn't do anything, so Krishna came to do. And he was engaging the Pandavas to help him do. And now he's leaving? You can't leave. But I have to go. I have duties. Please give your consent. Nice, it's the tension of love. There's this reminded me of a section in Chaitanya Bhagavat. Chaitanya Bhagavat, we already mentioned a little bit. Haridas Thakur was not born in a Vaishnava family, not born in a Hindu family. He was born in a Muslim family, but somehow from childhood he had an affinity for chanting Hare Krishna, so that's what he did. And the Muslim king wanted to punish him. So here he's shown being brought before the Muslim king, ready to punish him, but waiting for his hearing before the king, he was put in jail. And when the other people who were in jail saw Haridas Thakur coming to jail, they were like, wow, the sadhu's coming to the jail. We want to meet with him. So they wanted the guards to allow them to meet him. And Haridas said to them, stay as you are now. Wait a minute. You're supposed to give a benediction. You want us to stay as we are now? And he said, you don't understand my message. And then he explained his message. Right now, by circumstance, you're not involved in materialistic sense gratification. Circumstance doesn't permit it. And because you're restrained in that way, you're praying very intently to God. Please deliver us. Please protect us. Please help us in our circumstance. Stay in that position. He said, in a few days, you're all going to be released from prison. But when you're released from prison, don't go back to materialistic life. Stay in this position of calling for the mercy of the personality of Godhead to deliver you from your material circumstances of life, to regain your spiritual circumstance of life. Stay as you are now. So there's some lessons. It is not only the Pandavas who are put into the condition of enmity, but all of us are always in such a condition. And the best way of living is to become completely dependent upon the will of the Lord and thereby overcome all difficulties of material existence, because in material existence there's difficulties. Isn't it? Matra sparshas Kaunteya Shitoshna Sukha Dukkata Agama Payam Nityas Tang Satiksha Sabharata. Krishna says very early in chapter 2 Bhagavad Gita, this material world is a place of duality, and you have to be tolerant of the duality and rise above it. So how do you rise above it? Tolerant, okay. Rise above it. Become dependent upon the will of the Supreme and live accordingly. And that's how you rise above it. That's the lesson. Now there's a very nice story, and I'm going to read the story and then, or narrate the story, and then we're going to end because I'm running out of time. There's the love letter of Rukmini. Now, Rukmini, it turns out, had given her heart to Krishna. How did she give her heart to Krishna? Very interesting. She just heard about him. How did she hear about him? Narada Muni, Brahmachari, talking about ladies. But it was a transcendental service to attract the heart of Rukmini to Krishna. It said specifically, when Krishna ran from the battlefield in Mathura, and Jarasandha was chasing him, and they went up the mountain, and Jarasandha thought, "You coward, come back," and Krishna and Balaram jumped. So why did he do all that? It was time to marry Rukmini. That's what our acharyas say. So he had to hurry to get back to the place where he could marry Rukmini, because he was eager to be married. That was his first queen. But her brother, who's pictured here, he had a different idea. Rukmini's brother was named Rukmi, and Rukmi had animosity towards Krishna. He was in the Duskriti category. And because he particularly had disdain for Krishna, he chose his preferred husband for his sister, Rukmini, to marry Shishupal. Now Shishupal was just like Arjuna is Krishna's cousin, because Vasudeva had a number of brothers and sisters, and one of Vasudeva's brothers was the father of Shishupal. So just like Uddhava was first cousin, Shishupal was first cousin, Arjuna first cousin. They're all like cousins. But Rukmi wanted his sister to marry Shishupal. She didn't want to marry Shishupal. Her father didn't want her to marry Shishupal. But you know how family things go sometimes. The father didn't want to disturb because his eldest son was so firm on what he wanted. But Rukmini had given her heart to Krishna. Just hearing about Krishna. She hadn't met Krishna yet. She just heard about him. But what she heard was sufficient. She gave her heart completely to Krishna. So what to do? What to do? What to do? This is a transcendental plot. And the plot unfolds. Dark-eyed Vaidarbhi was aware of Rukmi's plan for her to marry Shishupal. And it deeply upset her. Analyzing the situation, she composed a letter to Krishna and quickly sent the letter with a trustworthy brahmana to Krishna. So let's hear the benefit of Shravanam, Kirtanam, or Shrinvanti, Gayanti, Grananti, Sadhavaha. Let's hear. Oh, beauty of the worlds! Having heard of your qualities which enter the ears of those who hear and remove their bodily distress, and Having also heard of your beauty, which fulfills all the visual desires of those who see, I have fixed my shameless mind upon you, O Krishna. That's a nice opening sentence for her letter. Oh, Mukunda, you are equal only to yourself in lineage, character, beauty, knowledge, youthfulness, wealth, and influence. Bhagavan. Oh, lion among men, you delight the minds of all mankind. What aristocratic, sober-minded, and marriageable girl of a good family would not choose you as her husband when the proper time has come? Therefore, my dear Lord, I have chosen you as my husband, and I surrender myself to you. Please, come swiftly, O Almighty One, and make me your wife. My dear lotus-eyed Lord, let Shishupal never touch the hero's portion like a jackal stealing the property of a lion. If I have sufficiently worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead by pious works, sacrifices, charity, rituals, and vows, and also by worshipping the demigods, brahmanas, and gurus, then may Gadagraja come and take my hand, and not Damagosha's son or anyone else. Oh, unconquerable one. She never met him. She's sending a Brahmin who knows he's going to make it. And if it's going to be time for the thing to happen, for him to come and take her away. But she has a plan in her letter how to do it. Tomorrow, when my marriage ceremony is about to begin, Krishna's going to have to hurry. We have this saying, you can hurry Krishna, but you can't hurry Krishna. You should arrive unseen in Vidarbha and surround yourself with the leaders of your army. Then crush the forces of Chaitya and Magadendra and marry me in the Rakshasa style, winning me with your valor. Then she gives more details to her strategy. Since I will be staying within the inner chambers of the palace, you may wonder, quote, how can I carry you away without killing some of your relatives? But I shall tell you a way. On the day before the marriage, there's a grand procession to honor the royal family's deity. And in this procession, the new bride goes outside the city to visit goddess Girija. That's the name of Durga. Oh, lotus-eyed one, great souls like Lord Shiva hanker to bathe in the dust of your lotus feet and thereby destroy their ignorance. If I cannot obtain your mercy, I shall simply give up my vital force, which will have become weak from the severe penance I will perform. Then, after hundreds of lifetimes of endeavor, I may obtain your mercy. And Krishna's got to hurry, because it's going to happen. And sure enough, it happened. Betrothal to a man she loathed, Rukmini wanted to be Krishna's wife. But would he consent? She didn't know. He not only consented, Krishna followed her excellently laid plan, came on his chariot, scooped her up as she was going to see goddess Girija, and took her away. And when he took her away, there was a big battle. When there's a big battle, Rukmini was at the head. Rukmini was especially envious of Krishna. He could not bear the fact that Krishna had carried off his sister to marry her in Rakshasa style. So she, as she's getting on the chariot here, she has a concern, not much for her safety, but for Krishna's safety. Don't worry, beautiful-eyed one. This enemy force is about to be destroyed by your soldiers means his soldiers, because what's his is now hers. Nice. In the background, you see Durga's temple, where the custom was the young bride would go to see the family deity, and the soldiers with their swords raised, and Krishna finished them. The highest achievement, Prabhupada, the highest achievement of perfect civilization is to work with valor, but at the same time depend completely on the Lord. Do not become complacent or an idle parasite. So I was thinking to cover one more verse, but because I talked too much, I think we're going to have to end here. And fantastic assembly. Those of you that are way over there in the corner, I don't know how you're seeing the screen, but you got some kind of... Oh, your phone. Okay. As long as the Wi-Fi works. Okay. So any discussion? This young man in the front. You learned something about Kunti today, right? Very memorable personality. Here's another one. Kunti had a brother. Who was Kunti's brother? Vasudeva. So because Kunti and Vasudeva were brother and sister, that means that her sons and Vasudeva's sons were cousins. First cousins. Do you have any cousins? Of course you've got some cousins. So that, cousins, they're very close relationships sometimes. So Arjuna and Krishna were very close. But not just cousins, but eternal associates. Wherever Krishna appears, Arjuna appears. Anywhere in any universe, at any time, any place, Arjuna is with him. He's very special. And Kunti was his mother. Okay, any discussion? Yeah.
Guru Maharaj, the translation to text 36, the Shrinvanti Gayanti Grinanti. So not only just hearing, chanting and remembering, but even taking pleasure in others doing so.
You caught it.
Could you talk about that phrase?
You're a good listener. Thoughtful as well as good. Do you want to hear something about others doing so? Ideal is if you can, but if you can't, then take pleasure in others doing so. And some people become envious of others who are doing so, or competitive, or something. No, take pleasure in others doing so. That phrase reminds me of some instruction about sadhu ninda that comes from Rupa Goswami's writings. And in that description that he gives, it's not only offering respect, but feeling happiness when you see a sadhu. So you're not directly interacting with them or necessarily offering some respect, but just feeling happiness. So when others are doing so, I may not be able to participate. Like, let's say, some of you may know, I happen to know because I travel every now and then. During this holiday season, there are two youth groups in India. One is the TSI, the Sangha Initiative, basically coordinated from England, and it's young people that come together with someone leading them, and they went to the Holy Dham to hear and chant and discuss. And then another group is by Sheshika Prabhu. Some of you know who he is. Vaisheshika Prabhu is leading another group. He's got a different name. He's called it Global Youth Sangha or something like that. Global Youth Sangha. Global Youth Sangha, GYS, something like that. And they're in Vrindavan now, and then they're going to go to, they're in Mayapur now, then they're going to go to Vrindavan. So you're not there. I'm not there. But I'm happy that they're there, knowing that they're doing that. Or the whole group that went to the Govardhan Retreat Center and had a big, fantastic time. I know some devotees that went. It was fantastic. I didn't go. I was doing other stuff. But I was happy that they were doing. Like that.
Thank you,
You
Maharaj.
got some puzzle book on your forehead.
No, but the phrase that came after that, it said that they also will see the lotus feet of the Lord. And,
Why not?
And I was wondering
When
how
envy
powerful
is
is that?
gone. When there's envy that's gone. What's the obstacle? The joy that, because who is the center of that enjoyment? Anyway, it's Krishna. And I want to see Krishna's enjoyment, whether it's me or somebody else, or these little boys that are kind of antsy over here. They're enjoying something. So what Krishna is the enjoying, that's how, if you have that happiness. Bhajaniya Parama Purusha Sukha Sva Sukhadvam. This is a phrase that's found in, I'm going to speak about it next weekend. The Sva Sukhadvam, or one's own happiness, Sva Sukhadvam, is Parama Purusha Sukha. Such a person, Bhajaniya, that he's the worshipable Parama Purusha, and that brings one real happiness. And by that real happiness, that if it's Krishna's happiness, is that a question?
Yeah. So earlier in the satsang, you mentioned about Krishna being very partial to his devotees, which I agree. At the same time, there is a different verse in the Bhagavad Gita which says, Uddharet atmana atmanam natmanam avasadayet atmaiva atmano bandhuhu atmaiva ripuratmanaha. So I'm no one's friend, I'm no one's enemy.
Yeah.
Each
neutral.
person is his own friend or his own enemy. So how do you contradict that? How do you...
That's not a contradiction. Yayatam prapadyante. As they prapadyante, as they take shelter of me, I reciprocate. He's not partial. As they, I want to be your enemy. Okay. I want to be your friend. Okay. I want to be your devotee. Okay. And it's not partiality. He's reciprocating with the mindset, the consciousness of the person who regards him. They regard him this way. Shishupal regard him this way, and so forth and so on. Is that all right? You got to digest it. You have to think about it a little bit. Yeah. Okay. I'm like that too.
Why did Rukmini write that letter one day before her wedding? Didn't she think it was too last minute?
Yeah, that's like, there wasn't good timing. She could have done it sooner. Why did she wait so long? It added to the excitement, I guess. In other words, pure devotees do things according to the inspiration of Super Soul. And so Super Soul inspired her to do when she did and do what she did when she did, and it added to the excitement. That's one explanation. Krishna wanted it that way, so that's what she did. It's not like Krishna whispered to her, don't do this yet. But when the inspiration came, she did. And the inspiration was from Krishna. He was ready. No problem. It worked out really nicely. Something else?
Guru Maharaj, my understanding is that the 9 processes of devotional service, any one of them, if one performs perfectly,
Yeah.
one can achieve love of God.
Yes.
And today you showed a slide that said when the hearing is perfect and complete,
Yeah.
the other processes become automatically perfect.
I just wrote what Prabhupada wrote in his purport.
So it seems from the statement that
That has special importance
And
amongst
it's the
the other
pre-
processes.
and it's a prerequisite for any of the other processes.
Well, how do you do any one of the other processes without hearing? Please explain. You have an answer for that one? But let's just do hers. You have a question that's a follow-up on her question. But let her finish. You don't know her. She's got to have 6 other questions. Go ahead.
You were saying, Maharaj, you were
I was saying it is a prerequisite. Doesn't mean you can do, archana. Supposing you tried to do archana without any hearing. What's that? So the perfection may come by absorption in archana, but it's preceded by shravana. That's the seed. That starts everything. It's by sound.
And that's what starts it.
Yes.
However, if one is extremely attached to, for instance, deity worship, and
They should go on hearing too. So don't drill on it too much, please. Yes, anyone, but the hearing is essential. That's you're questioning that one. If any one of the processes, then you can just leave aside hearing. Theoretically, you can just leave it aside and just do one. And my response is that one is dependent upon also hearing. So maybe we should, you can edit Prabhupada's books and say, as long as any one of the other 8 processes is accompanied by hearing, then you can achieve perfection. By any one of those 8 processes, as long as you continue hearing. But it's implied, without stating it. Premananda, you've always got a question. She's bringing the microphone. She's anticipating. Okay, then over here. This young man has something. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. You go ahead. You've got the floor.
Yeah, this question is actually from my father. He wants to know what the Rakshasa style of marriage is.
It means kidnapping.
Yeah, so Krishna lifting Rukmini and saying the Rakshasa style of marriage. So can you please elaborate about this style? And
It's just kidnapping.
Okay. And is that the intent? Like it's
Yeah,
to
it's the
kidnap?
intent.
Okay.
It's according when Arjuna kidnapped Subhadra, Balaram was furious, and Krishna said, "No, it's actually noble amongst the Kshatriyas. This is a noble kind of marriage, where the Kshatriya king comes and forcibly takes away the young bride. This is very noble. It's called Rakshasa style. That doesn't sound noble. It sounds the opposite end of, light is darkness. But it's just a name. I don't know why they call it that. There's probably a reason. Kidnapping of a young marriageable princess, Kshatriya lady, unmarried Kshatriya lady and forcibly abducting her, given the name of Rakshasa style. There's probably some other names too, but that's a common one. Okay. Ask your dad if that's good enough.
I think he'll be happy with that.
Okay. Anything else? Yes.
Maharaj, thank you for the very amazing and enlightening talk. The verse was saying how the devotee always depends on Krishna. So what's the difference between depending on Krishna and taking service from Krishna? Like the devotee doesn't want to take service from him, but wants to serve him, but also depend on him.
Do you see a contradiction? I don't. And this, what does depending mean? Depending on. So I know some people, they like service. According to Jiva Goswami, it's the entry level for bhakti, is they just like to serve. But their liking is to serve and not so much in the mood of depending upon Krishna. But they like service. So they come and do some service. And then, so there's a distinction between doing service and doing service specifically in the mood of depending upon Krishna. Living your life, even when there's good times and bad times, depending on Krishna. Okay. You have something.
I had a comment, a point of relevance to the question earlier. Why did you wait till the last minute, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's hear it.
My comment on that is, if you truly
You have to press the button to make the microphone work. It helps.
It's just a comment, right? If
Okay.
you truly desire something, and if your desire or if your cause is so worthy, no matter what, you have to trust him till the last minute. It will definitely be fulfilled. If you were to give up soon, that worthy cause will not be fulfilled. But then if you were to trust him, even at the last minute, it gets, your desire is fulfilled. Just
Okay.
a comment
Okay.
on her question. But
Then-
I do have one other question.
Well,
Can I
but
have-
wait a minute. Her question still stands. It's not like Krishna will let you down.
Yeah.
But why put Krishna to so much trouble? Last minute trouble. Come on. Be nice to Krishna. Give him some time to prepare and make a nice, arrangement. Okay,
Can
now,
I have one more question?
one more question.
And I'll promise it's the last one. Whenever I talk to my, let's say, Abrahamic friends, I try to bring up reincarnation and how it is actually scientific and things like that. But I'm stumped whenever they ask me this one question. If reincarnation is true, then how is the population increasing? For which I don't have an answer.
Oh, that's easy.
And I request you not to quote from the scriptures. I read the scripture myself. I know what verse you're going to say. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grunhati naroparani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnani anyani samyati navani dehi. But then it doesn't really answer, okay, if everyone were to keep on exchanging or change their bodies or transmutate, then how is that
I got the question.
population is...
I got the question. You want the answer or you want to go with the question some more? Okay.
Who has white here, has to be. Security wants to move. No, it's in front of somebody in house. Yes.
See if this answers the question. You're probably disturbing some neighbors. You're going to hear about it. Listen carefully. There was a discussion between Lord Chaitanya and one of his devotees. And at the moment, I'm not remembering which devotee that discussion was with, but Gopal Hari can remember, I'm sure, or his mom, somebody in the room. You appeared in this world, you delivered all the conditioned souls. And Lord Chaitanya said, wait a minute, look around, they see lots of conditioned souls. He said, it's true, because you delivered them, but the unmoving living entities took their place. Who was that discussion with? Who? Vasudev Datta. So, the answer is, there are living entities that are not in human form, and there's even just in all kinds of other forms. When Vishnu, Mahavishnu, generates so many universes from the pores of his body, and the material elements cling to those universal seeds, and then Garbhodakshai Vishnu enters into each universe, he brings with him a universe's worth of living entities. And some become manifest and some are not yet manifest. That's how population increases. It's not increasing. The number of souls is the same. They just may not be in visible species to our observation or perception. Well, yeah, but sometimes they're not even yet born. They're just not manifest yet, but they're living entities. Now, it gets a little dicey, like how do you know all that, and where's the scriptural verification for all that? If somebody goes into that place, there's this one, Vasudev Dutt, so you can look it up in Chaitanya Charitamrita and read commentary and see what the commentary says. But there's living entities everywhere. Sarvagata, right? Living entities are everywhere. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, living entities are everywhere. So they're not always in manifest forms, but that you can... How many living entities are in this room right now? Beside, mosquitoes and little crawling creatures, and probably not too many of those guys, but... So many. How many? Who can say? So by Krishna's arrangement, that souls can be taken from those categories to more visible forms. Okay. So let's end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Let's all thank Maharaj with a big round of applause.